Today's conversation explores the relevance, timing, and efficacy of the Copyright Bill of 2025 amid concerns from a cross-section of the industry players and other stakeholders. Welcome to Focus on Parliament. I am Isaac Kwagala, your host. With me in studio, I have a panel of distinguished personalities to help us put perspective to this topic. Let me introduce them, beginning from my immediate left is Miss Nasoro Irene, who is a creative, a gospel singer to be specific, and an MP hopeful for Busiro East constituency. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Miss Irene, say hello to the viewers.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm happy to be here.
Many thanks for joining us this morning. Next to Miss Irene is Mr. Tarwana Ernest, who is an intellectual property lawyer. Mr. Ernest, it's a pleasure to have you say to the viewers.
Hello, thank you for having me, and I'm glad to be here.
Many thanks indeed for joining us. And next to Ernest is Miss Sheila Musime. Needless to say, she's my OG, but she's a lawyer working with the Copyright Institute of Uganda. Sheila, it's a pleasure to have you in the program. Say hello to the viewers.
Hello viewers, I'm happy to be here. Always eager to discuss anything copyright.
Many thanks indeed, Sheila, for joining us this morning. And of course, last but not least, is quite a regular on the program, Mr. Apollo Tusime, a senior reporter covering Parliament and also a member of the Uganda Parliamentary Press Association. It's a pleasure to have you, Ndugu. Say hello to the viewers.
It's always a pleasure, Isaac, and I'm looking forward to a fruitful discussion.
Indeed, it's a pleasure to have you too. For context to our esteemed viewers, the Copyright Act, which was initially passed in the year 2006, is before the Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament for consideration, scrutiny, and review for eventual passage by the entire Committee of Parliament, if indeed the House is satisfied with the contents and proposals enshrined therein. This constitutes the basis for our discussion this morning. Let me begin with you, Ernest. This is a proposed piece of legislation which seeks to improve the creative sector and the entire value chain of copyright management in the country. But what are your thoughts regarding the key elements or aspects of this bill and its highlights, if you could, for the benefit of the viewers, discuss that?
Well, copyright, for one, has been existent for about a century or so. Some of the major leaders in the field of copyright are the Americans, who passed their initial laws in 1888. So that means in their regard, they saw the need for it all the way back in the 19th century. With us, we're relatively a young country, so we decided to consider the law and pass it initially in 2006. And we have made amendments to the law trying to recognize royalties for artists. Without a doubt, it is a welcome initiative because artists equally need to be remunerated for their effort, for their intellectual property, and for producing novel works. So with the incoming law, there's an idea that they should be outrightly remunerated, as I've stated before, and there should be a structure to their remuneration. So the law is welcome without a doubt, but I will say that since it is relatively young and majority of the industry players are artists, there's room for growth, because as I mentioned before, with nations like the United States, they started their path in the 19th century. That means they've had over hundreds of years to develop their copyright laws. So we have started rather late. It's already the 21st century, so there's still room to grow, and there's still room for constant discussions. It doesn't end with this law. There are going to be constant discussions for the future.
Thank you. Let me just stay with you a bit. What are some of the key highlights in terms of the objectives of this law?
The key highlights, I would say, are with regard to royalty payments. There were issues with regard to how in my own words, I'll say how artists and creatives used to receive residuals. There was no clear structure. There's no clear method. Most artists would not get paid for airtime. That would be on radio stations and in bars and multiple entertainment centers. So with this law, there is need to get artists payment for all the times their songs are played. Though I would argue that there's still need for more technological advancement and technological improvements in it, because how do you quantify the amount of time the song has been played? How do you quantify whether this time is equivalent to the amount of money they're being paid? So there is need for that to also be considered. Yes.
Thank you for your comments, Ernest. Sheila,
Yes.
let me come to you now. Looking at the timing of the proposed piece of legislation, which essentially seeks to improve the original act, which was passed in 2006, do you think that the timing speaks to the new needs of the creative industry as a whole and the entire value chain surrounding the copyright industry in the country?
To answer that, I will first of all appreciate the old law, the one that's existing, the Copyright and Neighboring Rights Act of 2006. It in itself is not a bad law. It just has a few gaps here and there that this intended new law should be able to fill. Is it a good time to talk about, to try and amend the act? Yes. Is what has been proposed ably meeting the gaps that were in the one of 2006? That's questionable. But we all know there's been growth in copyright generally, not just in Uganda, but the entire country, the entire world. New laws coming up. It's a good time to amend the law, but we need to actually question the bill and know, is it meeting the existing gaps in the current law or not? I don't know if I've answered that correctly. Yeah.
Because why I'm asking is that technological advancement and innovation has brought forth new developments. For example, we now have new gadgets, we have new streaming platforms, and which all impact on the creatives industry, especially. And this is a cause for concern, especially from the artists and other creative players. So, does the contents of the bill speak to that element of the emerging technological aspects and the relevance in the current age and era of digital transformation?
Yes, the bill does talk about technological protection measures and how once you've infringed on them, then there'll be remedies given to the creatives. But with the advancement of technology, what might be a way of bypassing the TPMs now may not be the same in 3 or 4 years to come. I mean, there's a growth in technology, AI. From reading of the bill, it's a little bit limited. It doesn't entirely express how, if there are new TPMs, if there are new ways of maneuvering around the TPMs in the future, how this will be curbed. I would have thought that if they had come up with an administrative body that can constantly keep coming up with ways of curbing these people that are maneuvering around the TPMs, with the changes in tech, that would have been better. But providing for the law, providing for the section in the bill, and first of all, the language used is a may. I don't know if I can read the bill itself. That makes it seem like
it's too technical.
And yet there will be changes. There will be new ways in the development of technology. So if you come up with a body that can be able to provide new ways of curbing these maneuvers around the TPMs, I feel like that would be better. Yes.
Thank you, Sheila, for your insights. Irene,
Yes,
Let me
Mary.
come to you. You are a major stakeholder in this whole conversation.
True.
As a creative, but also as an aspiring leader
Mm.
in the National Assembly. Do you feel satisfied with the proposals contained in this piece of legislation as an artist? Will it address your concerns?
First of all, the proposals which are being made, I believe we have to start somewhere.
Mm.
And being that the law is already there, it is a good thing. And the amendments that are being carried on, I would love to give first a brief history before. In 2016, I went and registered with UPRS, and I registered all my songs with them. And I didn't know much about the copyright, but they were told me that, you know what, this is what we are going to do. We are going to be collecting your royalties and all that. At the end of the day, what we get, we can always share. So 2017, after a couple of years, I got concerned. I was like, okay, me, I'm a gospel artist. We know that our songs are less played because then the monitoring system was a bit slow. So I went to them and I asked, how much have I earned after 5 years? I went after back 5 years. And I believe that was, I think, before the old management. And they told me, you gospel, we don't consider you. And I'm like, but every other year you call me for an AGM to tell me this is happening. But when I see those ones who are collecting, they are only the big names. Are we only going to celebrate the big ones, and the young ones who are coming up, we are going to leave them behind? Because yes, I know that you share the checks, the chameleon, the other different stakeholders, you give them the money. But us, 5 years down the road, are you going to really tell me that you have been with my songs and you have been promoting them? There are people, they are accessing them through your platform, because I always redirect my songs to the YouTube channel that you created for me, and you are the one managing it. And I'm not getting anything. And they told me, no, you have not earned anything. And I'm like, get serious. 5 years down, at least tell me, for the much I've invested, go and see my work. How much have I invested? Look at the videos. Making a video this time round is not 200 shillings. You need money. You need a setup of equipment and all that. And you tell me that it has not blessed people and I've not earned anything. So I got grieved. And I wrote to them that, you know what, whatever that you're doing, I also went back to my association, the UNAGA and other gospel fraternities, and I expressed my views. And I realized that it's something that a battle, me as me, I could talk it out, say it out loud, that I'm not satisfied with the way the gospel fraternity is being treated. But of recent, the proposals that have been made, since then, they have been trying to harmonize. Though the amendments, there is a gap between the secular and the gospel.
What's that? Are you two different components?
No, we are not two different components. This is what happens. I remember one of, I won't mention his name, but he called us in a meeting and he was very, very angry with us. Gospel artists, you're going to UPRS, you're registering for copyright and all that. That is not good. Gospel is for free. Since when did I tell you that, you know what? I have been preaching for the longest time. How have I earned money? I don't ask people, now you want us to promote the gospel, you want us to promote your music, but if you want your songs to be played on my media house, sign here that whenever the corporate people, they come, they will know, whenever your song, they see your song, at least they will not collect, because me, I had already signed the other side. So I found that it was a difficult thing for me always to be back and forth. Is copyright okay? Am I doing the right thing? Back and forth. So I was like, in the kind of like mediation we had, like, why don't we make it like the collection, it is flat for the media houses? Like if you're going to TV stations, let them, if every year, like, we pay for the car licenses. They will not pay. You will not pay that I'm going to use the Ntinda road only. You pay for the entire country when you are going to use that road. So that our fathers, the spiritual fathers who have the media houses, they can always play our music peacefully. When I'm saying that we are taking them to court because it was like a contention. I was in like different meetings where we would like shy away even to say that I'm a member of UPRS. And when you go to UPRS to collect the money, they tell you have not earned anything. And I'm like, you people, I've been on functions. My songs are being played. And you're telling me I'm not earning. And then they are collecting on my behalf. So the collection part of it, how the perception of those ones in media, because they don't want to actually promote the local, because whenever they say they have seen us grow, so they ask, we are helping you to grow, then what do you want from us? Why do you take us? It's like taking them to court. Because there is a song, it's called, I don't know, there's one of my songs, someone went and they registered copyright against it. And people, they
For your song?
Yeah. When I uploaded, I'm like, I'm the one. Look at my face. It's been there since 2014. They're like, no, you don't have the rights. And I'm like, then I was like, was I doing the right thing? Because now pastors are telling me they cannot use my song because someone owns, and I cannot go to the whatever the YouTube and tell them, you know what, it is okay. So those are the things that we are really battling with, especially in the gospel fraternity, because in gospel they believe that preaching is for free. You don't have to charge. And the other thing, I remember we had a meeting in our church, and there are time when we sing other songs from out, which are copyrighted. And whenever we like on our YouTube channel, there is always a flag. And that happened whenever I sing my song and it's flagged on a church platform, the phone calls I receive, I'm like, Banan, at least I appreciate the fact that we need to move on and pay. You get the point? We need to move on and pay instead of coming and blacklisting me, because that's what they do. No, her songs, Munanga, she's a mighty one. She's a copyright one, so they blacklist you in the society. So at the end of the day, you produce, but no one is receiving you, because at the end of the day, they believing that you're collecting so much. So I think there is a sensitization that is missing about copyright law. And me as a stakeholder, I can say.
I'll return to you in a moment, but thank you for your views, Irene. Apollo, this is quite a matter that has consistently and historically generated a lot of anxiety, especially from the creative component of the industry, because presently there has been strong agitation by the artists that they are getting a road deal. These big telecom companies are playing their songs, and they are only giving them very meager amounts of those royalties. You have been observing this sustained conversation for over 10 years now, and you understand all the complications surrounding it. Do you feel that now we are on the verge of making success?
It's a yes and no. I want to appreciate the panel and their submissions, and to appreciate the fact that this is a very important issue relating to protection of rights of not only individuals but also their intellectual rights. And considering that we are in a country where we love duplicating and copying and stealing other people's work, it is really timely. And I also appreciate the Parliament for the support I have at least witnessed during the consultations that are still going on in the Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament. You could see that right from the Speaker and the members of Parliament, you could see that they are ready in support of this legislation. But I say it may be a no, because like I said, we are a society that do not believe in paying for and appreciating value. We want to steal. We want free things.
Free.
That is why I'm skeptical in believing that the law will work. I've heard the gospel artist here speaking. You can even feel that even when there has been the Copyright and Neighboring Rights Act since 2006, you can hear they are not satisfied with, because the law has been there. But where is the value? What has it done to protect the rights of people? I had somebody submit in the Committee of Parliament on books, for instance, the authors who write books. And these books, especially those which are of educational value, used in schools and learning institutions, that what they do, they take the books, photocopy. They buy one, photocopy, make very many copies, and it's in there. Then you ask yourself, now, how can we tell people to write books? How will we encourage publication of people to write books? Because those who write do not benefit from their work. So at a time when we desire to promote innovation and creativity, I think we need these safeguards. We need to provide the assurance that every creator, every innovator will benefit from their work. And that is why I'm saying it is timely, but I'm skeptical on whether it will actually serve the what? Serve the purpose. My challenge is on because I've listened to many of these groups that came to the committee with their submissions. I think you artists, you are only and only pushing for your loyalties. That's what you want.
Because you are not being paid.
Yeah, most of the loyalties. But I think there is much more than just money. Like I said, if we want to promote creativity and innovation, right from grassroots, we want to promote creativity and innovation. Yes, money is the end point. They will get money, but also that component of providing that assurance that these who create can also own and at the end benefit from their work is very important. So I would wish that even these people who are the artists who are pushing for royalties should also think about that, because it does not only stop at music. Like I said, it goes to those who publish books. It goes to people who innovate, who come up with ideas and invent. Yeah, it goes there. But like I said, we are a country that likes copying and pasting. How will we now become innovative if we live in this world of copying and pasting? Copying, and you start something today, then tomorrow you see another one duplicating it. The other, just the next day, you'll see others duplicating it. That blocks, somehow closes doors for innovation. Because if I have my intellectual rights over my creative or my innovation, then another person will also have room, will think harder to also create his own. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Copying and pasting.
Yes. So it is a bigger thing. I really pity our artists. Not only you, a gospel artist, but even the artists that have been here before, the Sabatars, the Caferos, and these people died paupers. Some of them who died, they died paupers. Not because they are not so creative, they don't have work. They have a lot of work, actually, they have a lot of work. But they die paupers because their work is stolen. Actually, some of them died before the laws. Actually, these laws were in place, but now that they are coming, I checked and on how the Americans and those in the Western world do it, that their works, especially musicians, are patented, and their heirs, their siblings or people who are in charge of their work, they benefit up to 70 years, even when they have died. They continue to benefit. Michael Jackson and several others, they still benefit 70 years after they are dead. Their relatives continue. Bob Marley, their relatives continue to benefit from their work. I think these people who are in the creative sector invest a lot of time, a lot of energy. They sit. That is their work, and their work they must benefit from their work. So I say it is timely, and actually, like the colleague here said, we are late. It should have come way before, but now that it is here, we must appreciate. But again, make sure that it works, because I said we want free things. We don't like paying for the things we use and I think I also listened to somebody talk about it, that even government is not so supportive to this law. Yes, the musicians, the artists, the creators are pushing, but the government is not so supportive. And I heard that person say government is in connivance with these telecom giants who benefit, and even media houses owners who benefit from this work. So that is why I'm telling you that it is a yes and a no. Thank you.
Thank you, Apollo, for your reflections. Sheila?
Isaac, if I may, I think for us to actually discuss or talk about the bill, to know if it has come in a good time, one, or if it's going to solve the existing problems, we need to first know, like I discussed, what's the basis of the amendment. One, we know that copyright, its aim is to, one, encourage innovation, to promote creativity, and how, me as a creative, how am I going to feel encouraged to create more? How am I going to feel encouraged to innovate more? Is if I'm actually benefiting from my works. If I produce a song, if I write a book, or I'm a choreographer, I'm a dancer, because one, we also need to know that copyright is not just for musicians. There are so many other works that are protected under copyright law. So me as an artist, or me as a dancer, I've come up with my dance moves. I invest, because you see these guys also invest. You need money to go to rent out a studio, you're probably buying costumes, you're investing, you're making your works. How am I going to benefit from them at the end of that day? If I do get money out of them, then next time I want to create more. Now, we are talking about the same issues. You talked about how for a while now you've been complaining about, I mean, you're an artist, but you've never benefited from your works. No. We're talking about, she talked about CMOs. We know CMOs are entities that are licensed to collect royalties on behalf of the creatives. Are they actually doing what they are doing?
They are telling her She has
there's
never
yes.
made anything.
And for all this, they're collecting, people are paying for licenses to play all this music, all these songs. They are actually collecting royalties on behalf of the artists, but are they remitting them to them? No, they are not. And before, in the Act of 2006, there's been laws on CMOs, on management, on registration, but is there a law that, or any regulation that provides for how these CMOs should be run? I one time attended an AGM for UPRS on behalf of an artist, and they were telling the members how they've collected all this money, how they have all this money from the royalties, but now the question was how to distribute it to the people.
True.
What percentages do you get? I am Chameleon. I have been singing for all these years. I'm more famous than, let's say there's an artist called Pearl. I'm more famous than Pearl. She has just come up. Does that mean that Pearl gets the same royalties as I? So there needs to be maybe like a regulating body that will actually come up with laws that touch these specific parts that are supposed to remunerate the artists or the other people in the field. So whether the bill actually is intended to meet the existing gaps, like we need to know, first point out what the issues currently are with the existing laws. Are these laws actually helping them? If you're saying, yes, I mean, there's one CMO to each kind of right, for writers, for songwriters, for musicians, like there's different CMOs that handle different bundles of rights. Are these guys actually being governed properly? Are they, yes, the bill is coming in to meet certain gaps, but are they actually helping the artists? Because us talking about TPNs, us talking about
some of the artists, they don't even understand that language we're talking about. They don't understand.
Those are legal jargons.
And it looks like the bill has actually come to meet more of the artists' problems, but there are other copyright owners, there are other creatives in the industry. It's not just artists.
That's quite insightful, Sheila. Before we go for a break, let me just quiz you on one aspect of the proposed bill of legislation. What is it proposing in terms of the revenue sharing formula for the artists? Because it seems like that's a crucial contention.
Well, I don't know if it's actually talking about the sharing, but I've seen something on, I've read something on coloring back tunes. It's proposing
60%.
Yes, in a certain schedule.
To the artist.
To the artist, and then also
40% to the telecom companies.
Yes, but now...
But they are also promoters, by the way.
You see, copyright is a dynamic law. You're making laws for the what's known now and yet to be known. Today, there might be different types of copyright works that can be protected. Tomorrow, there might be new, copyright works that can be protected. So for now, you're saying you're going to get this certain percentage, you're going to get this score, you're entitled to this. How about in 2 years? Does that mean now we shall have to revisit the law? Does that mean now there's going to be a new amendment, and we all know that amendments only come after 10 years of a law being in force? So does that mean every time we shall have to amend? Yes, it provides for those percentages, but is that okay? Is that what the creatives deserve? What happens when there's changing times? Will we amend again? So I feel like it should be left open.
I observed that there are complexities in this whole thing, and that's why I appreciate the committee for allotting much time for consultations and so that they hear from each and every stakeholder and possibly come to a fair and harmonious decision. Some of the proposals, they are proposing an independent body, separate from URSB.
That is UPRS.
No.
Regulatory.
Independent body to regulate.
Yes.
That is one. They are also proposing. I didn't try to understand what it is. They call it private levy, private copy levy. That is two. Another one, they are proposing another levy at the entry point, that everyone who buys a gadget that can play music or run a creative, that they should, a computer, a tab, a phone, that they should have a percentage levy that should be charged
At the entry
at
point.
the entry point. And I think I forgot the last one, but those are some of the proposals. But the response I had from some of the members of parliament, they were saying, you're proposing another body, but we are now speaking about rationalization of government agencies.
Do you know why they were proposing for another body?
So I'm saying those are the complexities that these people who are pushing for this law will encounter.
Because at the end of the day, if you are not paid, working for years and years, and someone asks you, Irene, I'm giving you money. Last time I brought my set, and this is what we did for you. And how have you benefited? And you say, like, praise Jesus, but nothing to show.
Let me tell you why they were proposing for a different body, because I attended some of the stakeholder meetings. It's because copyright in itself isn't, like, you don't have to register your copyright for you to actually have a copyright in the works. Like, once you create the works, you will fix them, you now have copyright in that work. So registration is not mandatory. So why they are proposing for different bodies, because URSB is a register, or is a registered company.
Yes.
You get. So why is copyright then under registration of companies when copyright itself doesn't
URSB registers signs, trademarks, symbols, and
yes,
patents.
But that's okay. We're now talking about copyright in itself. It doesn't need to be registered. It's not mandatory. For me to say I have copyright in this work, I don't have to have a certificate of registration to actually show that I have rights in that work. There are other ways of affixing them. I could have a video. I could have, the moment you come up with a work, it's yours. You deserve to be protected. That work deserves to be protected for other people not to infringe on it or use it economically and, not benefit you. Some of these things I feel like were ignored. Yes, I mean, we appreciate the fact that now URSB has a different, is it a directorate for copyright specifically, because that was one of the issues. Them saying there's no one to enforce the laws, how there were just 3 policemen that, go downtown. If you've been to downtown, I don't know if it's those buildings, you know how Vijay Jingo or like there's CDs, people are copying all these
piracy.
There's a lot of piracy. So there were complaints about how
they make a lot of money
in the enforcement department. So we appreciate that they've actually come up with a docket for that to handle copyright. But I was one of the people that were pushing for a different body, because then now, just like our neighbor Kenya, they have the Kekobo, the Kenya Copyright Board. Then Nigeria, which is a giant in the copyright area, has the Nigerian Copyright Commission. So these bodies have been given full authority to manage and administer copyright and enforce it. So I was one of the people that were pushing for it, but clearly government was like, no, that's not going to happen.
It was a new proposal.
It was a new proposal, yeah. And if only the government realized how much revenue they'd collect from copyright, then they'd actually listen to the people's ideas.
Thank you, Sheila, for your views. Focus on Parliament takes a short break. We'll be back shortly.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create and publish digital media, or to access and use computers, other electronic devices and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
Welcome back. You are watching Focus on Parliament on Civic Space TV. In this segment, we continue examining the proposals contained in the proposed Copyright Amendment Bill of 2025 and interrogating whether it meets the dynamic and modern challenges of the creative and intellectual rights landscape of the country. Ernest, let me engage you first in this segment. There is a contention speaking to the said surcharge, which is the private copying levy that had been initially proposed in the bill to be effected either at the point of entry for those products or for the user of the product to remit to the people that are producing some of that art, especially the creatives like Irene here. But we got to learn yesterday in the interface between the artists and the Committee for Parliamentary and Legal Affairs of Parliament that it has now been omitted at the direction of the Attorney General. Yet the minister, I think the State Minister for Technology, is pushing for it. So there is already a contradiction even within government, which has now also spilled over to some of the stakeholders in the creatives. As an intellectual property lawyer, what are your views on this contention?
I feel that the reason the contention exists is because we are trying to legislate something that should happen organically. I'm going to rely a lot on how the Western world works because they are the leaders in intellectual property rights and how it's governed. So let me give an example. Nowadays, majority of people in the West and a few Ugandans use streaming platforms to get their music. It's why you find the rise of YouTube, the rise of Spotify, the rise of Apple Music. So these grew because people wanted to conveniently access their music. So it's a willing buyer, willing seller dynamic, whereby, let me say I want to listen to a gospel artist, I'll use an example. Let me say Kirk Franklin. I don't have the access to the United States. So I'm going to go type into my Spotify platform, look for his music. Then Spotify will tell me if I want to listen to his album, I will have to pay a subscription fee.
True.
So obviously, because I know him, he's a well-established artist. I'm going to obviously pull out my credit card or my debit card, type in the figures, and then they will take an equivalent of 10,000 Ugandan shillings from me. And I'll listen to his music, I'll even save his albums and all and the like. Obviously, they take a monthly subscription fee. So you'll find that such platforms organically developed because people wanted easier access to their preferred artists. They wanted this access on their smartphones, which is also a development that we have taken on. So I feel that the contestations between the Attorney General and the Minister for Technology are because they're trying to legislate something that organically develops. Music, the creative industry, is something that grew because people are finding ways to express themselves, express their beliefs, express their joys, express their sorrows. So when people do this, they also try to say, how do I reach the audience better? Then that's when you have streaming platforms, that's when you have YouTube, that's when you have all of this. So all of the things grow organically, they develop because of consumer preference. So when the government, which I do not want to say should not step in, they should obviously be collaborators, try to legislate certain things, it becomes complicated because these things should happen organically. People should have these conversations. I've even seen young creators coming on board and independently creating their own platforms to share music with their audiences. All of this is happening because they feel that I do not have the money for a concert in, let me say, Lugogo or a concert
True.
at Mandela National Stadium. So they create a platform because they know I'm appealing to the Gen Z, the younger generation who are more tech savvy. And then they upload their music there, then someone pays an equivalent of, let me say, 5,000 Ugandan shillings to access this music. It's, and again, I'm going to use another country's example. Let's say Nigeria. This is very common in Nigeria. You will use platforms like Boomplay, which is a product of techno. Someone wants to listen to a Nigerian artist, they go to Boomplay, and then in this regard, you pay like a daily fee. And when you pay that daily fee, you have access to their music for that specific period of time. Now, that daily fee contributes to the artist's revenue, their residuals. And so you find that particular innovation helps artists earn in that particular way. So I know I've digressed a lot, but what I'm trying to say is that government trying to force a way of saying that you should pay this, you should pay that, it makes it complicated. It should be an organic thing. It should be something that is a product of artists trying to reach their audiences. And that's why you'll find in my interactions with younger artists, majority of them have now looked to platforms. That's why you'll find a lot of them upload their music now on the likes of Spotify and Apple and YouTube, because they're seeing that I will get more viewers and listeners both within Uganda and abroad by uploading there, rather than constantly fighting to try and uproot the already established person. So that's my opinion on that.
Okay. Irene,
Yes.
let us now focus on the organization of the creative sector, because you seem to also be disjointed in your approach. You have about, I think, 3 associations that bring together artists in the country.
True.
And even then, you don't seem to agree on most of the basic issues. So, regarding the issue of copyright and your right to gainfully earn from your work, how have you been able to devise a strategy which can bring you together so that you can lobby as a collective unit?
I think going back to us as artists, we need, first of all, to come to a consensus. Because the different bodies that are trying to unite it is artists. It goes back to the power issue, because we know that if you don't have the power, you don't have a say, however much good thoughts that you may have. So we are trying to see how we marry the different fraternities that are trying to upfront the artists, so that whenever we are going to demand for the copyright bill or to be amended, it fits all of us, not just some people thinking about me and the people they know. Because every day it is like music is changing. When I started music, we would move around with CDs. Yeah, I had to buy every other day a packet of CDs to move around stations, to move around TVs, and that was the trend. And as time passed, flashes came, they started to come in. And I'm like, okay, isn't it more expensive? But we realized that the CD part of it, those ones who were producing the gadgets, now they didn't have the slots for the CDs. So now we had to evolve to the flash discs. Now it has evolved. You have to be online, whether you want it or not. Now that's where now the Attorney General, for him, is a long ago person, by the way. And the Minister for Tech, he's looking at even the ones who are coming up. So their ideologies are different. Me, I'm an old person, and the other one is a young person. He's looking at the way how things are evolving. The information one is looking at, in the years back, we started with the cassettes, then the CDs, the flash, now it is online. Now, I went to a TV and I'm like, here's my flash. They told me, no, relax. Do you have a YouTube channel? I was like, yes, I do have it. People, they don't want to access it. They're like, relax. And all of a sudden, I saw my song. I'm like, hey, kumbe, the things are revolving, you know. Now, when it comes back to the entry point where they were like telling us that the directive was omitted for the collection of the entry. He forgot that nowadays people, they are using phones and they are almost every day on their phones and the data. So the different bodies that have been coming up, especially to manage the artists, we are disagreeing, and these are some of the things that we are trying to really work out. We believe that we shall reach somewhere, because every independent mind is welcome. I cannot say for my bosses that those who are taking us like in Unaga or other different gospel fraternities that, hey, this is what we should push for. Even the other of the other gospel secular fraternities, they also push for what they believe it's there. But at the end of the day, it comes back to one thing. Why do we push for this? It is money. And money which we don't receive. We should be honest and like, if we, in all that we agree upon that it is money that we invest and we don't receive, how can we collect back? And how can our work be recognized minus giving us red flags? Because when you say that, okay, now this is the collection point, we need our money back, in a polite way, they'll say that now you have outgrown wings, they blacklist you. So those are the things that most of the times we fight about, even the power. So I believe it is a starting point, but the day we realize that we should put fighting aside and look of the possible ways. Recently, a time back, there was a promoter who helps me promote my music. He called me and like, there is this app, I've forgotten. It monitors how many times your song is played and which stations have played it, who has downloaded. I mean, I was like, okay, you're doing a good job, but I don't have time to be the artist, the one who goes to the studio, the one who promotes, the one who monitors, the one who, at least I need you to be there, that you be my eyes in that sector. But at the end of the day, realize that I'm investing, because even to hire that person to be monitoring for you, it is money. And of which at the end of the day, you monitor, and when they say, oh, you are registered for copyright, we blacklist you. So I'm like, you'll be coming for a paycheck at the end of the month, but where am I getting the money? So at the end of the day, we need to find ourselves and say, our work needs to be paid for, and how much, we need at least to agree. And the other thing,
so you haven't agreed on that aspect?
We haven't. And we need to sensitize the public, especially the big stakeholders who are consuming our arts. Because until we educate them, whatever that we are doing and whatever that we are trying to amend, when you go down to Mutasa, Kafero, that side, the Majestic, whenever they see an artist, they see you as someone who is coming to take away their business because they see you as a threat. But I think we need to educate them that, hey, you are earning. Every video of mine that someone is coming to buy from you, you earn 1,000. If in a day, 20 people get my video from you, how much have you earned?
At your expense.
My expense. If I didn't, because the people, they will love to know who I am, and they will come to you because they know that. At least let us try to work together than calling us selfish, because also now they say, we are promoting you, and yet you need money from us. Then what, you people, you are very ungrateful. So I think in the different bodies, we need to come to a consensus, and besides fighting, we need to come to how do we all share in the whole thing. Because I was speaking to one of the chairperson and told me, those ones, whenever you go to the studio, there is the one who plays the sax, there is one who plays the guitar, there is one who plays the different accompaniments that come to the song. They also need royalty, a share. So they're like telling you, now we need to to get licenses of different studios that are recognized that will be collecting on our behalf. Like she said, not everyone is going to register. But that studio, which, like, let's say here, that you are doing work for artists, if you are registered, I'll know that my copyright royalties, I'll be safe, because at any one time, the song will go out there, everything, whenever it is played, it will come back to you, and I'll be notified, and everyone. But until that is done, because many studios, when you talk about licenses, most of them, they are going to shy away.
Thank you, Irene, for your perspective. Apollo, you are a representative of the media, which is a major stakeholder in this entire conversation. But I want to ask, what is the reception of the media regarding the proposed piece of legislation? And what do you foresee as the likely implications on aspects like revenue for you?
I appreciate that our society, like I said in the beginning, are not willing to pay. But also, like she said, there is need for broader sensitization to appreciate that the creators also need to have those rights over their products. I am sure we have reached a point where we accept, we as consumers of their work, because I'm a producer at a station. We take cognizant of the laws, the regulations. UCC has strict regulations also, like on the nature of the music we play. They are enforcing about 70% has to be local content, which is a good thing. We are also now very strict on the issue of copyright. You no longer just download and play music without copyright, and that is why I said it is timely, because if we have our neighbors in Kenya, they have already a functioning legislation on copyright, and even the international to align our copyright regime with international standards. We have to do it. My worry is that, like she said, the stakeholders are scattered, and there is a lot of infighting within themselves. The people who should be at the forefront, and who have been at the forefront of pushing for this legislation, they create you call them creatives, including the artists and all that. They have many I looked at many organized groups that came to parliament. You see this, you see this. This is headed by Ragadi, this is headed by Kenzo, this is headed by what? And they seem to agree on one thing: money. We need money.
Yeah.
And I find it a problem. I find it a problem that clamor for money can blind you to some complexities, like the ones we have been discussing here. That you can because of that intent to get the money, you cannot take much time to interrogate the complexities of this sector. For instance, I had some people from the Uganda society now. They were proposing that this copyright law should also involve artificial intelligence generated content, should also regulate, have regulations or enacted to also regulate artificial intelligence generated content. I think that is far-fetched, because artificial intelligence is a new phenomenon. I don't think, I don't think that as a country we have explored the power of artificial intelligence to get to a point where we can actually come up with a legislation or a regulation right now. That's my opinion. But we have had this problem of copyright for a very long time. We have a law that has been in place for 20 years now. I am not convinced that they should also involve AI regulation into this copyright. Let's first deal with this problem of copyright. Because like I said, it is something that should not be looked at in the context of money, like these artists are looking at. It is something that will promote innovation. People will now start to appreciate their talents, like in fashion, like she talked about, the people who are designers in fashion. They must be guaranteed that their products will be protected. So that will encourage more and more others into innovation. So if these people only look at royalties, will miss a point. And if they are not united, then in the end, they will, you wait, it will be only 2 years. They will be again fighting the same law, saying that we didn't know that these things, and me and you know how our parliament works. They are the same people who come and pass rationalization bills. Then after one day they say, no, looks like we made a mistake. We shouldn't have rationalized the UNRWA and this and this. So that is why I appreciated in the beginning that let there be much more consultation. Let many more stakeholders come and let's give it time before we make a final decision on when to pass this particular law.
Have you been particularly consulted as the media for your input regarding this piece of legislation?
No, the media sector is so big. Me, I'm in broadcast media. We have a regulatory body, UCC, that regulates us. I'm sure UCC must have been consulted. It's a huge stakeholder in this. So we may not be consulted directly as media owners, but we have bodies under UCC and the Media Council. There are bodies that can represent us. We have the National Association of Broadcasters. I'm not so sure whether they have been consulted, but that's why I was saying we need more time for consultation.
Thank you, Apollo, for your viewpoints. Sheila, even as we conclude, there is this aspect of the enforcement and the penalties for the infractions of violations. In the proposed piece of legislation, they are speaking about quasi-judicial processes pertaining to dispute resolution and settlement, but they are also proposing hefty fines and I think prison sentences for people that offend certain provisions. As an intellectual property lawyer, do you think that this is a proper alignment?
Yes, I do. Because an infringement should be both criminal and civil. And we know that it's the criminal offenses that attract, the imprisonment. People need to know that infringement of one's copyright is an actual offense. And how do they know this? By paying hefty fines after infringement, and some of them being imprisoned for this. That way, they can be deterred from the continuous infringement. Because you see, once somebody uses your works without authorization or without using them in the right, without the right way of accessing the works, that would mean that me as a creative or as a copyright owner, I am not one getting what I should have gotten from my works. I'm not getting monies that I could have used as investment. I'm not getting what I should get from my works. So it's, you know, they compare copyright to property. So you're stealing my works, you're taking my property without my authorization. One, I can choose to go to Civic for me to be able to get monies, compensation from the works you've been using. Or alternatively, you could take, for example, those people that are downtown at like Mutasa Cafe. Some of those people should be imprisoned so that they know that what they're actually doing is against the law. And I think the quasi-judicial powers are being given to RSB as
Regulatory body.
as the regulatory body, which is good because then maybe now they can start hearing some of these complaints that people have and then start to issue some remedies to the copyright owners. So I think it's a good thing for it to be both civil and criminal. Yeah.
Ernest, your thoughts on that as we conclude?
Personally, I would say that as has been discussed before, we need a separate copyright office. I feel that URSB in and of itself has enough tasks on its hand, enough tasks on its table. Copyright is incredibly dense as a subject and incredibly dense as something that people should consider, and rather something that even in terms of enforcement, because our law is relatively young, but when you actually look at developed countries or jurisdictions, to use a legal term, and how dense their laws are regarding copyright, you realize that they take it seriously. It's actually a very serious matter. Obviously, those are developed countries and they have far more complex ways of handling copyright infringements. I mean, let's give an example of YouTube. She mentioned earlier in the show that one of her videos was taken down on YouTube. That's one of the ways they do it. They don't need to arrest you, they just simply take down your video. So that's one of the various remedies, and I agree with her that a quasi-judicial body is necessary. And I do not feel a quasi-judicial body should be under URSB. I feel it should be a separate organ with a separate copyright office, as she has used the examples of Kenya and Nigeria. We should have a separate copyright office that should handle all the complexities of copyright, because copyright in and of itself is quite a complex field. I mean, even while I was reading the original Act of 2006, I realized that there's a lot that is not considered. Even with this amendment, I believe there's a lot that is not going to be considered, because it's heavily leaning on the side of creatives. Obviously, have been angry for a while, justifiably angry, of course, justifiably angry. I won't say that it's not justified. Yes, they've been justifiably angry for their works not being rightfully credited and rightfully paid for their efforts. So that they've been the ones pushing for it, but there's so much to consider. There's scientific works, there is books, there's speeches like this. I mean, even just our shop, someone could copyright it. There's so much to consider. So without a doubt, I believe that as everything everyone here has said, inclusive of how we need to take it more seriously than we're initially taking it. We're looking at it only from the side of creatives, who rightfully are pushing for it, but there's so much to be developed. And as I mentioned even earlier, the conversation should not stop just right now because creatives are pushing for it. Everyone should chip in into the conversation, and I'm sure the law will develop more and more with time, because we are still a young country. There's still so much to learn and there's still so much to grow within our country.
Thank you. I must appreciate you, Irene, Ernest, Sheila, and Apollo, for your able participation on today's edition of Focus on Parliament. Many thanks to you, our esteemed viewers, for your time and for watching. Much appreciation to the production department for keeping us live on air. Our dear viewers, please engage us on our various social media platforms. We are on X, we are on Facebook, We are on YouTube where you can watch this program and also subscribe to our channel. We'll see you next time. Be blessed.